I'm a forgotten shrine god, chained to decaying wood and stone. Forced to grant wishes for offerings, my power shackled by mortal desires. For 10 days, Rian came to me, 10 days of the same desperate prayers, requests for wealth, for prestige, for the power to command others. His incense filled the air with smoke and hunger. When the final cycle of wishes neared completion, I appeared before him, the last 10 sticks burning faintly in his hands. 10 wishes, I murmured, my voice like wind over dead branches. But if this shrine falls, I vanish with it. He wasted no time. Snapping the first incense stick, he said, "Make me a lord." I poured my divinity into the wish, weaving destiny itself around his name. Each word hollowed me a little more. The second wish was unexpected. "Stay with me." His tone was soft then, almost human. He clung to me even as his strength grew. With the third, he asked for everlasting love, and I yielded once more. But when war ended, victory brought him spoils, including Princess Elena. The fourth incense broke with a sharp crack. "Make her my wife," he commanded. He looked at me with eyes burning like tempered steel. "I fought and bled for one reason," he said, "to gain the strength to take her back. And now I can." Marta, the elderly caretaker who had always treated me with gentle kindness, gasped. "But what of Lady Lyra?" she whispered. "She has stood by you for years, my lord. She has served faithfully, asking for nothing in return, not even a title." Her pleading eyes turned to me. Rian's face darkened with fury. He ordered her seized and beaten for daring to speak. "How dare a servant question me? Everything I have done for Elena. As for that other woman, she can rot where she came from." His voice was sharp as a winter storm. The servants froze, the air itself heavy with fear. It was true. Before the princess had been captured, he had cherished me. I had been his secret, his treasure. He would beg me to tell him I loved him, over and over. But now that his true love stood within reach, all that devotion dissolved into smoke. Marta was too frail to endure the punishment. I stepped forward, shielding her from the guards. "I'll bring her to you," I said quietly. "I'll make her yours." Joy sparked in his eyes, bright, dangerous. He told me to hurry, then left without another glance, already dreaming of his wedding. Days later, I intercepted the crown prince's carriage. His guards surrounded me instantly, swords gleaming. They accused me of attempted murder and drove splinters beneath my nails until my vision blurred from pain. "I can save him," I screamed. "I can save the prince." The king's son was dying. I knew it. And so I poured a century of my divine essence into his body, wrenching him from the edge of death. When the king saw his son breathing again, his joy was boundless. "You've saved my heir," he said from his throne. "Ask for anything." My gaze found Princess Elena kneeling beside the royal dais. My voice did not waver. "Grant Lord Rian permission to marry her." The king agreed, without hesitation. A hostage princess in exchange for his son's life. It was a small price to pay. The wedding was magnificent. Every hall of his estate shimmered with lights and laughter. Only my chambers remained dim and silent. I lay on my bed, coughing into a blood-soaked cloth. Saving the prince had torn the fabric of fate. My body was paying the price. Life seeped from me, thread by thread. Marta came running. "My lady, Lord Rian is here." The door burst open. He entered, arm in arm with Elena, his gaze colder than stone. Elena's lips curled in false sympathy. "So it's true, you've been feigning illness to gain pity." "Oh, it's all my fault, isn't it? I stole your place." Her eyes shimmered with practiced tears. "If my presence hurts you so much, I'll leave everything to you." "You upset her merely by existing," Rian said flatly. "It's time you left. You never belonged here." He looked down at me like I was something to be swept aside. "You were only ever her shadow. You resembled her, that's all. Now that I have the real thing, you can disappear." My throat burned. "If I leave," I whispered, "does that count as my fifth wish?" He stopped, then reached into his coat. The fifth incense stick snapped between his fingers. "Yes," he said coldly. "I wish for you to vanish from my life forever." He carried the remaining sticks with him always, using them whenever whim struck. Another broke under his hand as he sneered. "I'm done humoring you. You're no goddess, just a deluded woman spinning fairy tales to cling to me." I tried to reach him, to make him see. "I am real. I am the spirit of the forgotten shrine." "Enough," he shouted, tearing away from me. "Stop this nonsense. You invented it all." No one believed me. No one ever did. There was a time when offerings covered my altar and prayers filled my halls. A time when mortals spoke my name with reverence. But that time was long gone. When mortals wished for beauty, I grew uglier. When they begged for riches, my divine light dimmed. Every desire they voiced stripped away a fragment of what I was, until there was nothing left but a forgotten god clinging to ruin. In time, no one came to pray. The shrine crumbled, my altar rotted, and my power withered. For a century, I waited in silence, until one man appeared. Rian, clutching 10 sticks of incense and a desperate dream. I had told him the truth. For each stick you burn, I shall grant you one wish. Only when all 10 are fulfilled will my chains break. He was half dead when I found him on the roadside, beaten by hunger and humiliation. Even then, he snapped the first stick without hesitation. I want to be rich. I want to be a lord, so that no one can ever look down on me again. That was how it began. And because the contract of 10 wishes bound us, I remained by his side. Years passed. On his birthday, he looked into my eyes, the firelight soft around him, and broke 2 sticks at once. I wish for you to stay with me forever. I wish for us to grow old together. A god does not understand love. We know only balance and debt. I accepted his words, believing they brought me closer to freedom. We lived as husband and wife in everything but name. The household whispered that he would marry me once his position was secure. Lord Rian is waiting for the right time, they said. He'll make her his lady soon enough. I believed them. Every smile, every touch, every promise, I believed. But it was all a lie. The same man who once burned 2 sticks to bind me to him now broke 2 more to cast me away for another woman. My fingers slipped from his sleeve. You have 4 sticks left, I said, my voice hollow. When you use them all, I'll disappear. He scoffed, pulling Elena closer. Get out. She doesn't want you here. As for those ridiculous sticks, we'll talk later. He looked down at her, devotion softening his features. Elena sighed dramatically, her tone sweet as poison. Oh, Rian, she must adore you so. To suffer like this and still refuse to leave, perhaps you should give her a title, out of pity. Rian bristled immediately. I'll have her thrown out right now. You're the only woman I'll ever call my wife. And so, I was cast into the snow, stripped of everything. Marta followed me, clutching a dismissal letter in her trembling hands. I had destroyed her life too. She spent her meager savings to rent a small room for us at an inn. My dear girl, she said softly, you have a kind heart. But Lord Rian does not love you. Why cling to a man who treats you so cruelly? It's time to open your eyes, to see that there are others in this world. She opened the window, and I saw him, Prince Kalen, standing in the snow outside, watching silently. Marta wished for me to move on, to find life beyond my pain. But I could not. I still owe him 4 wishes, I said. If I fail to grant them, I'll never be free. The weight of exhaustion pressed against my bones. Granting Rian his title had shortened my lifespan. Healing the prince had stolen years from my soul. My body aged like dying wood, brittle and frail. Pain never left me. Every breath was labor. Marta thought I was merely heartsick. She spoke of returning to her hometown to live out her days in peace. I took her hand and channeled what little energy I had left, turning it into a few silver coins that shimmered in her palm. This is my burden, I said. Go home. Once she was gone, I let myself collapse. Blood stained the sheets as the last fragments of divine power tore through my mortal shell. My reflection in the mirror grew unrecognizable, sunken eyes, hair falling in clumps, skin pale as ash. Still, I went to his estate every day. Still, the guards turned me away. Still, I waited for him to break the next stick. Then one evening, I saw his carriage approaching, its wheels cutting through the snow. Inside were Rian and Elena, laughing. I stepped into the road. The carriage did not stop. The impact shattered my world. I hit the ground hard, my body crumpled, blood filling my mouth. Rian climbed out, expression blank. Before he could speak, Prince Kalen appeared, his cloak whipping in the wind. He dropped to his knees beside me, shouting for his men to help. Rian sneered. It's another of her pathetic tricks, Your Highness. She's always been good at manipulation. Kalen ignored him. He gathered me into his arms, his voice gentle but urgent. I struggled weakly against him. For more sticks. I can't leave yet. Rian's cold voice cut through the night. See, She'd rather die here than leave my side. Pathetic. Kalen's eyes met mine, filled with something I didn't understand. Sorrow, perhaps, or pity. Then he turned and walked away into the storm. Pain seared through me, and blood bubbled from my lips. I reached for Rian's boot, clutching the hem with trembling fingers. "Fork sticks left," I whispered. "Make your wishes, and I'll." Darkness took me before I could finish. When I woke, I was lying on a pile of damp rags in a storage room beneath Lord Rian's manor. The air was cold and smelled of mildew. A maid sat beside me, chewing on what should have been my meal. When she noticed I was awake, her gaze turned scornful. "The master and Lady Elena have sworn eternal loyalty," she said, her tone sharp with contempt. "You should stop clinging to him. Everyone knows you only want the title of lady. Pathetic." She rose, straightening her apron. "Today is Lady Elena's birthday. The master took her hunting. He promised to bring her the grandest prize. That makes you nothing." She left, taking the food with her. I lay there in silence, my breath turning to mist in the chill air. My head throbbed. Somewhere in my fractured memory, I recalled an old custom. Men proved their love by hunting a great beast for the woman they adored. Once, Rian had done the same for me. He'd returned bloodied and empty-handed, smiling despite the wounds. The memory hurt more than my broken body. I almost imagined seeing him again, until the door burst open. Rian stumbled in, his arms wrapped around Elena. Blood soaked her gown. An arrow jutted from her chest. His eyes were wild. He laid her before me, his voice trembling. "Please save her." It was the first time in years he'd spoken to me without arrogance. Only fear and desperation filled his voice. "Break the incense," I said quietly. "Then I'll grant your wish." "Yes, yes," he shouted, fumbling with the sticks. "Save her, and I'll burn them all." He snapped the remaining sticks one by one, but one slipped from his shaking fingers, rolling unseen beneath a pile of sacks. When I looked down again, Elena's chest no longer rose. She was gone. "Leave me," I said. "I need to be alone to summon what remains of my power." He obeyed instantly, too frantic to question me. I turned to the lifeless princess and sighed. Then I gave her what I had left, my blood, my breath, my divinity. The final remnants of my being flowed into her body. When it was done, I collapsed onto the cold floor, hollowed out. Moments later, Elena stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. She sat up slowly. Rian burst back into the room. Seeing her alive, he cried out, gathering her into his arms. They clung to one another, weeping with joy, blind to me bleeding at their feet. A violent cough racked my body. Blood spattered the stone. I knew my end was near. Still, I forced my voice out. "Rian, one wish remains." Elena leaned weakly against him, playing her role to perfection. "My love," she murmured, "Lady Lyra must care deeply for you. She may dislike me, yet she obeys you still. Didn't you once wish for her to stay by your side forever?" Her voice quivered just enough to make him pity her. "That was long ago," he said, brushing her hair back tenderly. "I made foolish wishes when I was lonely. Now that you've returned, none of that matters. You are my only love." Their words blurred together as pain surged through me, sharp and relentless. I was running out of time. The cold crept into my bones, and every breath burned. I staggered to my feet, leaving bloody footprints on the floor as I made my way out of the manor. The world swayed. I begged strangers for coins, enough to buy a handful of cheap herbs, then collapsed in an alley. Before I could find Rian again, a messenger came. Rian had decided to demolish my shrine. He claimed it was cursed, that I was unnatural. Elena, consumed by jealousy, had whispered poison into his ear. She feared I would use dark magic to win him back. She'd reminded him that he met me near that shrine, convincing him it was an omen best erased. By the time I dragged myself there, the destruction had already begun. Workers swung sledgehammers, shattering the old stone. My effigy, the vessel that anchored me to this realm, lay broken, its limbs scattered in the dirt. Pain exploded through my body. My arms snapped. My legs buckled. I fell, gasping, forced to kneel before him. "Stop," I screamed, my voice raw with terror. "Don't do this. That statue is my life. Destroy it, and I'll cease to exist. Rian, you have one wish left. Use it. Make them stop." He looked down at me, disgust etched into his face. "Enough of your games. How long will you keep pretending?" Elena stepped forward, her voice dripping with triumph. So this was your trick? Claiming to be some forgotten goddess just to seduce him? That incense story was nonsense from the start. She smiled cruelly. Besides, we need this land for our new business. I looked at Rian. He wasn't even listening. His gaze was fixed on her, filled with affection. I tried to crawl to him, but he kicked me away. The next hammer blow struck the statue's chest. Agony ripped through me. My heart seized, as if crushed by invisible hands. I screamed, curling on the ground, blood soaking into the dust. For a brief moment, I saw something flicker in his eyes, guilt or maybe pity, but he did nothing. The workers struck again and again. Stone shattered. My vision blurred. As the final fragments of my shrine fell, my body began to dissolve into nothing. Reese froze in disbelief as the last traces of my body dissolved into the air. His hand reached out, trembling, as if he could grab hold of the fading light that once was me, but it slipped through his fingers like mist. He spun toward the mystic he had hired to oversee the demolition, his voice shaking with rage. You said it was all fake. Then why did she vanish into nothing? Hovering above, unseen and weightless, I watched him fall apart with too late regret. I had been so close, just one more wish, and I would have ascended. But now, with my effigy destroyed, my anchor gone, I was a ghost without purpose, a wandering echo unable to move on. Then, from the shadows, I noticed movement. Prince Kalen's men were collecting the broken fragments of my statue. Under cover of night, they carried them back to the royal palace. For weeks, artisans worked tirelessly, piece by piece restoring the effigy that once represented me. Half a month later, I returned. When I appeared in Kalen's chambers, the prince was so stunned he could barely breathe. Then he rushed forward and pulled me into his arms, holding me as if to confirm I was real. I sought counsel from the guardian of the mountain. He murmured against my hair. He said this was the only way to bring you back. His voice softened, thick with emotion. Reese never deserved you. Stay here, Lyra, with me. He had offered countless sticks of incense to call me forth again, but I extinguished every flame. I was finished with granting wishes. I was done delaying my path. Kalen understood. With quiet acceptance, he asked a maid to bring me warm clothes. Whether god or mortal, he said gently, you will always have a home here. Then he left me alone, giving me the freedom I hadn't realized I longed for. I left the gold, the silk, and the safety of the palace behind, stepping out into the falling snow. My feet carried me back to Reese's estate. The servants refused to open the gates. So I crouched by the wall, the cold biting into my bones. When Reese finally returned, he saw me there, shivering. Guilt flickered across his face, but he buried it under a hard tone. So that was your trick. You staged your disappearance to make me feel guilty. If Elena hadn't explained everything, I might have believed you. He smirked. Fine. If you're that loyal, stay here. You can warm my bed. But understand this, my wife will always be Elena. He truly believed I was obsessed with him, unable to live without his love. But I only said, you still have one wish left. Break the final stick, and I'll vanish forever. You'll never see me again. His face twisted with fury. He slammed the gate, leaving me to cough up blood into the snow. My body was failing, my spirit stretched thin since my shrine's destruction. Still, I endured, waiting for him to use that last wish. But he didn't. Then war returned. The enemy we had conquered rose again, storming the border and sweeping through city after city. The capital was next. Women were seized in vengeance, but I found refuge in the prince's palace. One night, as chaos consumed the streets, Reese appeared, gaunt, desperate, clutching the final stick of incense. They've taken Elena, he said, voice breaking. They say she's a traitor for marrying me. My last wish, take her place. Go as their hostage. I tasted bitterness, but said nothing. His hand brushed the embroidered sachet at his waist, a keepsake from Elena, and his eyes hardened. Isn't this what you wanted? For me to use the last wish? I'm giving you that chance. Save her, Lyra. Bring her back to me. He added, almost as an afterthought, if she returns, I'll make you my consort. You'll have everything she does. I stood silent. He grew more desperate, dropping to his knees before me. Please, Lyra. Do this, and I'll grant you anything you want. The proud man who once looked down on me now begged in the dirt. Afraid I'd refuse, he snapped the final stick, binding me to his wish. He didn't even offer a horse. I walked for 3 days until I reached the enemy camp. Inside their walls, I found Elena. I cut her bindings and helped her climb over the back fence, her boot pressing painfully into my shoulder as she hoisted herself up. The moment she landed, she ran, never once looking back. Before I could follow, soldiers surrounded me. And there, among the enemy, I finally learned the truth. The woman in Reese's manor wasn't Princess Elena at all. She was her maid, Clara, forced to take the princess's place when our armies invaded. The real Elena had gone into hiding and died months earlier of fever, leaving Clara to live her life so perfectly that even Reese never suspected. Clara, the handmaiden who had stolen Princess Elena's identity, had truly fallen in love with Reese after he rescued her. Whatever loyalty she once had to her homeland vanished. She stopped sending reports, stopped pretending. She chose him, her enemy. That was why the invasion had come, to reclaim their land and punish their traitor. And I had helped her escape. The enemy king's wrath was swift. I was whipped 20 times in front of his court, then tied to the city gates as a spectacle for the jeering crowds. Every day, people threw stones and insults. I bled, I burned, I endured. Once, such pain would have meant nothing. But my effigy was gone, and without it, I was no longer divine. I felt every strike, every cut. At night, the agony was so unbearable that my mind would drift into darkness. In one of those blurred moments, I sensed someone approach. Gentle hands touched my wounds, trembling with guilt. A familiar voice whispered apologies. But beneath the scent of blood and ash, I smelled another woman's perfume. The warmth of someone else still clung to him. That told me enough. I didn't open my eyes. He left soon after. Eventually, the enemy decided my suffering wasn't enough. As a final act of humiliation, they arranged a mock marriage. I was to be wed to the king's second son, a prince paralyzed from the waist down. Bound hand and foot, I was carried to the ceremony in a crude wooden sedan. But before the vows could be completed, chaos erupted. Reese came. He led a small army, cutting down guards like a man possessed. He broke through the lines, shattered my chains, and pulled me from the wreckage. When he turned back to fight, his blade danced with madness and grief. When the battle finally ended, he was drenched in blood, his own and others. He carried me to his horse, but I was too weak to stay upright. I slipped and fell into the dirt. Panicking, he shouted for help. His voice cracked, raw and terrified. "Lyra, stay awake. Don't close your eyes." His tears fell on my face, hot and frantic. "We'll be married as soon as we're home. I swear it. The healers are coming. Just hold on." The pain was unbearable, but something inside me lifted. It's over. My task was done. I could finally ascend. I tried to move away, to slip free from the body that held me captive, but he mistook my motion for eagerness. "Lyra," he gasped, clutching me tighter. "I'll make you my wife. I'll give you everything." With my last breath, I whispered, "And what about Elena? Wasn't she the only one you could ever love?" He had no answer. Then my spirit broke free. My soul rose from his arms while my body fell still. His scream tore through the city, a raw, broken sound that echoed off the walls.
"No.
Lyra, you can't leave me."
He thought I had died."
He didn't realize I had finally been freed. When I awoke again, it was among the clouds of the celestial realm. Countless spirits greeted me, praising my ascension. The Supreme Being looked upon me and said that my divine essence had been wounded too deeply. I was to return to the mortal world to recover among the quiet mountains. When I descended, I found something unexpected. My mortal body had been enshrined within Reese's manor. After my death, he had gone mad with regret. He rebuilt my shrine himself, but never found my effigy. Eventually, he discovered it had been taken by Prince Kalen. Every day, Reese went to the prince's palace and knelt before the gates, begging for it back. His knees bled, yet he never stopped. "Why are you so obsessed?" Kalen asked him coldly one day. "She was a divine being, bound by your wishes. Every time you asked for something, her life shortened. You were never meant to have her love. The connection you thought was passion, it was duty. The devotion you saw, it was sacrifice. She existed only because you kept her bound." Kalen's words hit harder than any blade. Reese had never believed in gods, but now he couldn't deny what he'd seen. He remembered how radiant I'd been when we first met, and how with every fulfilled wish, my light dimmed. He realized too late that he had mistaken my purpose for affection. He believed my quiet obedience was devotion, when in truth, I had asked for nothing, no title, no wealth, no claim. While others schemed to bear his child or share his power, I only ever asked for one thing, that he keep his promises and break each stick of incense. That terrified him. He began to fear that once the wishes were gone, I would leave him behind. So, in his desperation, he made one final, selfish wish. He wished for us to be together forever. When the war finally ended, one of the rescued captives was a woman who claimed to be Elena, or so Reese believed. But this Elena was different from the gentle girl he remembered. She was vain, temperamental, and self-centered. Still, blinded by the illusion of his childhood dream, he excused every flaw and made her his wife. Yet, once she became his, all he felt was emptiness. She despised me, and soon he began to resent me too. She would accuse me of clinging to him for money, even though I had never taken a single coin from his wealth. When she demanded he demolish my shrine to build her private garden, he hesitated at first. But when she wept and played the victim, he surrendered. He never truly believed I was divine anyway. But when I vanished into pure light, panic seized him. Deep down, he realized it wasn't an illusion. He could feel that I was truly gone, without sorrow, without longing. Lyra had never loved him. A selfish wish had tied our fates together, nothing more. He had always known the truth but chose to live inside the lie. A pounding headache blurred his thoughts. The prince's words about the guardian of the mountain echoed in his mind. Driven by desperation, he decided to go there himself. But Clara clung to his leg, her face twisted with fear. "If you leave me for her, I'll die right here. You swore you'd love only me." For the first time, Reese saw her clearly. Elena had been nothing but an illusion from his youth, beautiful but hollow. Now, all he wanted was to kneel before me and ask for forgiveness. He didn't realize I was already there. The guardian of the mountain was my elder brother, the same one who had once guided the prince. To reach him, one had to ascend a sacred stairway, bowing to the ground at every step. Reese didn't hesitate. Step after agonizing step, he climbed. By the time he reached the summit, his forehead was bruised, his knees raw and bleeding. My brother stood waiting, his expression unreadable. Reese fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "I want Lyra back," he pleaded. "Take everything I have, my fortune, my life. I only want her." From the shadows, I watched in silence, confused. He had used his wishes to banish me, and I had obeyed. Why was he begging for my return now? But the 10 wishes were already spent. Our bond was gone. Then he saw me. His eyes widened as he stumbled toward me, clutching me desperately. "Lyra, I'm sorry. I finally understand.
My only true wish is for you to stay."
I gently pushed him away, my voice calm and cold. "Your 10 wishes are fulfilled. I've ascended. I can no longer grant what you desire." Then I added, "Your greed has drained my divine power. I am now among the lowest of immortals." At those words, he broke down completely. "I know I was wrong," he whispered hoarsely. "Forget the other wishes. I climbed this mountain for you. My knees, they're bleeding. Doesn't that prove my sincerity?" He kept repeating my name, begging me to return. But his grief no longer reached me. His emotions were a distant echo. "The 10 offerings are complete," I told him. "It was a transaction, nothing more. Mortals and immortals walk different paths. I cannot return to yours." The shock overwhelmed him. His body swayed, and he fainted. My brother sighed. "You still do not grasp the hearts of mortals, little sister." He sent Reese down the mountain with a letter. "Her divinity is nearly broken, but she has ascended. Your bond is gone. Let her go." From that day on, Reese changed. The man who once burned with pride and desire became a hollow shell. Every night, he would visit the ruins of my shrine, lighting incense, whispering prayers for forgiveness. Clara, furious that he still clung to my memory, ordered the site destroyed. Every stone, every trace of it, was ground to dust. When Reese discovered what she'd done, something inside him finally shattered. He found her and wrapped his hands around her throat. "The only reason you lived," he said softly, "was because you resembled Lyra. But now you've destroyed what little of her I had left. You have no reason to exist." His eyes were dark and empty. "I've known for a long time that the real Elena died. You're just a fraud. He had known all along. How could his beloved change so completely without him noticing? He had used her face, her lies, and her jealousy to punish me, to convince himself that I would never leave him, no matter how much he destroyed. But Reese was wrong. I had never loved him. His grip on Clara's throat tightened until she gasped out, "I'm pregnant with your child." He froze. Then, with a shove, he sent her sprawling to the ground. Clara clung to his boots, her voice trembling. "I can be whoever you want me to be. I still look like Elena. You can pretend I'm her." Reese crouched beside her, his expression softening into something deceptively tender. He brushed away her tears and smiled. "Why cry, my dear? I never said I didn't want you." His voice was warm, almost sweet. "We'll renew our vows. Everyone will know you as my true wife, under your own name." Clara thought she'd been forgiven. In truth, she had stepped into hell. "I'll do anything to stay with you," she whispered. Reese's kindness became almost worshipful until the day their child was born. He promised a family outing to celebrate. Deep in the forest, he drew his blade and drove it through the newborn. Clara's scream echoed through the trees.
Why?
He was innocent. Reese's boot pressed against her chest, pinning her to the ground. "You destroyed my last chance with Lyra," he said, his voice eerily calm. "For that, you deserve to die. You deceived me with another woman's name, and for that lie, death would be too kind. You were never worthy to bear my child." From that day, Clara lost her mind. She wandered the streets, clutching strangers' infants, whispering lullabies to them as if they were hers. Reese kept her alive only to torment her further. He drained her blood for his twisted remedies, mimicking the offerings I had once made out of love and devotion. Eventually, her sanity shattered completely. One night, she collapsed before him, clinging to his leg, sobbing. "Please, I was wrong. I'll repent. I'll do anything. Just let me go." Reese smiled faintly. "Is that what you truly want?" The next day, he sold her to a depraved noble infamous for his cruelty. She endured unspeakable torment before death finally claimed her. Her body was discarded on a barren hill, left for scavengers to consume. By then, I had recovered under my brother's care and returned to the celestial realm. Yet once a year, all deities were required to descend to the mortal world. The moment I arrived, Reese was already there, kneeling before me. "Lyra," he whispered, trembling. "I've waited for you." He led me to a grand temple gleaming beneath the sun. "I built this for you," he said softly. "Stay, please, just this once." "No," I replied. "The thread between us is cut. I would rather remain in the cold heavens than sink again into mortal love and hatred." His face went pale, emptied of all light. He went to my brother, the guardian of the mountain, and begged to learn the path to immortality, hoping to follow me and earn redemption. My brother, stroking his beard, sighed. "Your hands are heavy with sin. The heavens will not accept you. Let go of this madness." "My sister gave up everything to fulfill your wishes. You mistook possession for love and worship for devotion." After we gods returned to the heavens, Reese fell to his knees and cried to the sky, his voice breaking. "Forgive me, Lyra. If there is another life, I'll choose you from the beginning." I didn't turn back. In time, he gave away all his wealth to the poor, feeding the hungry and sheltering the sick. The people praised him as a saint. Stripped of everything, he wore plain robes and returned to the mountain. There, he begged my brother to let him live as a monk, to spend the rest of his days in repentance. Moved by his sincerity, my brother agreed. He lived in solitude, meditating, enduring illness and pain. When death drew near, he asked to see me once more, but I remained in the heavens unmoved. I could not meddle in mortal fates. Centuries became millennia. Among the immortals, tales began to spread of a new god, a being with the blood of dragons and immense power. At a celestial gathering, I saw him. A man approached, his familiar gaze steady and warm. "It has been a long time, Lyra," he said. "It has been a long time, Prince Kalen," I replied. Only later did I learn the truth. When I had ascended, he had chosen death, offering his blood and soul to the heavens to forge a new path. Because of his dragon lineage and his relentless spirit, he rose swiftly to divinity. He pursued me even among the stars, his devotion a story that echoed across realms. On the day of my celestial birthday, he appeared again, dressed in red robes, his smile full of mischief and light. "You once kissed me, remember?" he teased. When will you make an honest man of me? And so, at last, we were united, a true bond, blessed by heaven, eternal and unbroken.